Well, I almost just stared into a camera that wasn't there, but welcome in to the PHNX Suns Podcast. We are here live on a Monday. I don't know. Lindsay's not here. The whole thing's on. Let's re-rack that. Can we get the open again there, Emma? To a Monday edition of the PHNX Suns Show here from the palatial PHNX studios. I'm Espo. He's Saul. He's Gerald. And gentlemen, how was your weekend?
It was kind of chill. I cooked a lot this weekend.
Grill or?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Same actually. I'm still kind of getting over you using the word palatial in your intro. Honestly, I wasn't expecting that.
Why does everybody act so damn surprised when I use a word that is larger than like 2 syllables? Why? I was a very good student, a very high SAT score. Screw all of you. By the way, Lindsay not here, obviously. That's why I'm hosting. But
I still don't know what palatial means, so I don't care.
Large palace, like palatial.
I think that's part of my confusing because I wasn't picturing a palace in here. It was
that too.
Yeah,
sports den.
Maybe that's what threw me off.
Welcome to the PHNX studios that look like a frat house. Is that better?
He's also said it from his closet, so.
Well, I mean, that's the joke when I'm in the closet. God, we're off to a rip-roaring start on a Monday.
Yeah.
Look, one thing that happened over the weekend that did not involve Saul grilling or Gerald not having internet was one John Gambadoro being proven right when it comes to DeAndre Ayton. He's been basically tweeting or talking to anybody that would listen in terms of Ayton saying he's not going anywhere. And then Crispy Haynes, yes, Crispy, he dropped on Sunday, I believe it was, that in fact DeAndre Ayton will be staying with the Suns, confirming what Gamble had told us all for 10 days. Any surprise in this? Any? Were you shocked when we got this earth-shattering news by Crispy Haynes?
Not shocked. This is a hard one because you're basically sacrificing any potential depth by keeping DA. And that's really the only thing that's on my mind about this. It's not about DeAndre Ayton's performance and them rather keeping him and taking the risk, thinking that they can, that Vogel can flip him or anything like that. It's really, I just don't believe that they were getting the offers that maybe they wanted to. Mm-hmm. We heard a couple of them. Maybe that wasn't enough for them, and they chose to keep him for now. Now again, there's still plenty of things left to be decided before we get to the season. You got free agency coming up. You have his own trade, restriction being lifted after July 14th. Like, there's a lot still at play here. I'm not going to say the window's been completely shut, but it looks to be for now.
Yeah, it's also entirely possible that one thing that we've kind of, I don't want to say glossed over, but maybe undervalued is that no trade part of his contract that has to wait till July 14th if it's somewhere that he doesn't want to go, because maybe the Suns liked the offer that we reported, a source told us was on the table from Orlando, and DA just didn't want to go. Maybe that's why they didn't make a trade for arguably a better center on like 1/3 of the contract amount that DA is making. So to your point, like it's entirely possible that they weren't getting the offers that they wanted, and maybe the offers they were getting were places DA wouldn't want to go to and could veto. It's tough because you look at what the Hawks got for John Collins just now. If that's the type of offers the Suns were getting, it makes a lot more sense to keep him. Hope that you can, either get a contributor on this team on a title contender or recoup his value enough to flip him later in the season. But if that's what they were getting, this is the obvious choice. It's not shocking. I still think you need to trade him for starting caliber center, a rotation level wing. But for now, it's not the end of the world that they're keeping him. We're going to see what Vogel can get out of him and whether that change of coach is the key to getting him back on the right track.
I think you're right, spot on when it comes to what the Hawks got for John Collins. I think the Suns have had a value in mind and did not get it. I joked on Twitter, it's like when you put something on Facebook Marketplace for $200 and the guy messages you and goes, I'll give you 20 if you deliver it to me. And like, if you're getting those kind of offers and you value something at a certain amount, you're not just going to move it because, oh, there's an offer that is well below what I want. And I imagine that that's probably more than the Suns magically going, you know what? We don't want to move DeAndre Ayton all of a sudden. Frank Vogel has convinced us that this is the perfect fit. But, you know, if you're not going to get an offer, you're not going to make a move just to jettison the salary. This isn't a case where you're in Atlanta and you're getting the thing from ownership that's saying, hey, we can't be near that luxury tax threshold. You're well past that now.
I also think that there's an element. I know everybody's down on DA. Like, trust me, I get it. And I don't say this because, DA went to U of A and like I'm a stan because he went to U of A. I don't care about him going to U of A. Like, because I saw a guy at the U of A that I thought was a legit top 3 player coming out of the draft, which was the case. I say this from a pure basketball perspective. Outside of what we saw in the playoffs, which is a big red flag, do not get me wrong. It's hard. I'm hard pressed to believe that there's a lot of options out there outside of like maybe 1 or 2, if they were even available, that are better suited to be surrounded by 3 elite shooters. Like you're not a stretch big. Okay, well, you have 3 other guys that are perimeter based as well. You know, where's the room going to free up at? And so I know DA comes with his issues, and he's a big problem of late. And, you know, the head game or whatever the factors are, whether it's Monty or himself, or it's like everything, right? But in terms of fit, if you presented me, hey, do you want an athletic big that can run the floor, that shoots over 60% inside the key, and can play decent defense every now and then when he wants to, and can rebound, like you're hard pressed to find that guy on the open market. And he averaged 18 and 10 last year. Now, he was dog shit against the Nuggets, but he still averaged, I think, 15 and 10 against the Clippers. And like, that's what you're hoping for with this particular team. It's not the best scenario. It's not what anybody wants, but I do feel like a lot of people are really, really down on DA based on what they saw last. And I do, there is a lot of intrigue on my behalf in terms of what Frank Vogel will possibly be able to do with him here in the early going. I'm excited to see it. I hope I get to see it, but I know a lot of people are down on him. And I'm just saying, like, from a basketball perspective, it does make sense to a certain degree.
The problem isn't his game right now. I mean, yes, he looked bad in the playoffs, but it's that price tag. It's the price tag and the fact that now if you're committing to keeping him, you legitimately have no depth. And we'll get into it later in the program, the options and what you're going to have to do. But that's the real problem here is now you're committing to 4 guys making, all max money in their own tiers. And how do you make that work? And that's the problem for me. And I get it. If you don't have the offers, you don't have the offers. You can't make a move that isn't there. That's the reality of it. But if you go into the season with this approach, you're hoping that this is the fresh start that DeAndre Ayton wanted. But what's the best case scenario you're getting out of him? A defensive protecting, rim protecting big that can rebound. Is that worth $32 million? I don't know, because you're not going to need him for offense. This is not going to be a guy that's getting more offensive touches like he's asked for. He's probably getting less offensive touches in this new world order for Phoenix. So I don't know how you're gonna fix his desire to be more of a focal point where now he's the 4th best option on the team.
Right. And I, to your point, I think for me, because a lot of times there's 2 very split factions when it comes to DA. There are the people that are diehard supporters and are saying, like, look at his numbers, he can help this team still. And then there's the other faction that's like, he sucks, get rid of him, I don't want him on the team. And as always, I'm always somewhere in the middle. But when you look at his season last year, it was bad. He regressed in a number of key areas. And I know 18 and 10 on 58% shooting doesn't sound that bad on paper. But I wrote about this last week because I really wanted to take a look at, okay, where did he specifically regress? Where are the Suns going to need him to be better than he was last season, like he was in seasons past? And I apologize in advance. There's going to be a lot of numbers here, but I want to cook real quick because I think these things are important to clear up some of the disclaimers that go around about DA.
Nerd alert! All right, go ahead, Gerald.
Time. So the Suns' net rating last year was 5 points better per 100 possessions when DA sat. The only Suns with a worse net rating were Dwayne Washington Jr., Terrence Ross, Saban Lee, Darius Baisley, and Torrey Craig. None of those guys were main rotation players except for Craig. He shot 63% over the last 2 seasons, but his 55% shooting in the playoffs this year was 9 percentage points worse than last year and 11% worse than in 2021. And a lot of people point to, okay, well, he didn't get as many touches because KD came, or he's just not a focal point of the offense. But his 11 shots per game in this postseason were actually more than he averaged during the 2021 finals run that everybody talks about as like his coming out moment here. He averaged the 5th most post-ups of any player in the NBA this season, but shot 6% on those worse than he did last year. He was 3rd best field goal percentage on those last year. This year he dropped 21st. They also ran the 2nd most pick and rolls for him as the roll man, which is his bread and butter, the Suns' bread and butter, but his field goal percentage dropped by 4 percentage points on those. He averaged more paint touches per game than last year and was assisted on a lower percentage of his buckets because the Suns were trying to let him create more offense, but he dropped from 5th in points per paint touch to 19th. He dropped from 3rd in field goal percentage on those paint shots to 31st outside the restricted area. His hook shot dropped from 66% to 58% in the regular season and 59% to 44% in the playoffs. Like, he ranks in the 33rd percentile among centers in shots at the rim frequency. He averaged a career high 3 free throw attempts last season, which for a center is insanely low. And his mid-range efficiency dropped from 56% to 48%, despite being in the 98th percentile among centers of mid-range frequency. He's recorded more turnovers than assists every season he's been in the NBA. He shot 29% from 3 on 24 total attempts, despite talking about how he wants to expand his range. And defensively, opponents only shot 2.7% worse at the rim when guarded by DA. For reference, they shot 7.6% worse against Jock and 14% worse against Bismack Biyombo. So this is what we are working with here. This is a guy who, for whether you want to call it scheme or just his own individual regression or coming back down after shooting insane percentages around the basket, he regressed last season. And the challenge for Vogel now is going to be, how do you get him to defensively buy in, to go back to being that rim protector when you don't know where the offensive touches are going to come from? Because unless Monty was severely holding Kevin Young's brilliance back on the offensive end, his role's going to be pretty similar, especially now that Bradley Beal is joining town. So you're going to have to find a way to keep him motivated, keep him satisfied on offense, and get him more engaged on defense when the fan base is arguably as low on him as they've ever been. That's a tough ask, and that's why we keep saying it's not just up to Vogel. The human element can't be ignored, but DA has to take it upon himself to just be better and show a lot more effort in some of these little areas that we keep bringing up.
Yeah, I think the human element can maybe help with the motivation a little bit when you add in, if Vogel really does believe in him and CP3 isn't there getting on him anymore, maybe that slightly gives you an uptick on the motivation, but it's not going to magically fix the regression. Some of that maybe was because there was injuries and at times you had to run a lot of offense through him. But look, if they keep him, he's going to have to be everything you've wanted him to be for you to get where you're going, because you're going to fill in the rest of this roster with vet minimum guys. And you can't expect them to be the big difference makers. You've got to expect your max paid center to be that guy as your fourth option and being a defensive stalwart. You're just going to have to if he's staying. And is DA up for that? I don't know.
You know, I hear you, Gerald, on those numbers. I really do, especially this last season. But I'm not trying to pass the buck to Monty, because DA deserves every bit of criticism that he does get. I am wholeheartedly in agreement with you on those numbers. Those are not good. And the only person that can control those numbers is DA. When he gets those touches, he's got to come through. When it comes to effort, he's got to come through. I will say that the human element that everybody keeps talking about, there is something to that to a certain degree, okay? And I'm going to take you guys from the known to the unknown right now, okay? Let me cook a little bit.
Okay.
Hold on, don't talk about our one-on-one meeting. Right?
So, thanks, Jalen. Appreciate you, bud. I think we've all been in environments where we've worked for that one boss, manager, sometimes even coworker that was just too much. Nitpicking every little thing, always watching what you're doing, always like just a constant micromanager, and it felt like it was only towards you. I've had that happen multiple times. I had that happen in the military. I've had that happen post-military. Like, it's happened before, right? And at a certain point, you start to have this mindset of, well, if nothing I do is right, then fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a human element to this. And people can say soft all they want. That's cool. You can have your own, it's your own opinion. I get it. And I get that the visuals do not look good. And I'm not trying to scapegoat them at all. But I'm saying, like, the human element of DA and Monty just was not as positive as you'd like to see from a player-coach relationship. And for DA, if you've ever spoken to DA, and you understand what motivates him and the things that he enjoys, I think there's a bit of harmony and buy-in that he requires from somebody who's trying to direct him and all the things that matters to him. Now, you can say it's soft. You can say he's got to be stronger than that. You can say, well, he's getting paid $30+ million a year. I totally agree with all that stuff. That's fine. But there is a human element that I do feel like at some point this season, DA, for lack of a better word, gave up. And I don't know if that's correct. Maybe there's something else that went on behind the scenes. But from my perspective, you can only take so much before you just say, you know what? I don't know if I want to be here anymore.
I hate and Jose says it, and it's no offense to you, but the mindset of coddling or pacifying, these terms that get thrown out. Some people do not respond well to tough love or to basically being ignored in some ways by their leader or whatever. I mean, we've heard all sorts of things when it comes to that. That's one element of it. And maybe, like I said, that gets him a little bit more engaged. But in the end, he's got to find the growth in his game too. So it's a two-part thing. But I don't believe in this. This is the Suns posturing to try to get better deals. If there's not a major market, and you say, well, we're going to keep him, is that all of a sudden going to create a market? No. What creates a market is him going out there and performing contrary to what some of these teams must believe about him at this point.
I do like the fact that again, there's a lot of pieces to this pie, right? The DA pie, there are multiple pieces. This is one aspect of that pie that I'm talking about. It's not the total pie. And there are levels to this, as Gerald would say, right? And so I think you need to be aware of that. And listen, the same people that have been riding DA like super hard, like there's been levels to this as well on Twitter where people are just like they're going for his soul on Twitter as opposed to just having a basketball conversation. And that's where you lose me. Those are the same people that didn't even give him the benefit of the doubt. The fucking name the day they announced his name at the podium, like they didn't want to give him that benefit of the doubt. And during the playoffs, right? As soon as the playoffs were over, well, can he keep it up the next year? Like for the finals run. And then after that, like he had a really good series against New Orleans. Well, can he keep, like there was always but. And I get it to a certain degree. I do. And this season was awful. It was not good. But even in his worst year, as you pointed out, percentages were low. Everything was low. Nothing was great. He still gave you 18 and 10. And it might be fool's gold. It might be. But I do think you're hard pressed to find a center that you're going to be able to get for a reasonable price that's going to be able to do some of the things that you're going to require that position to do with this specific team.
To be fair, though, every time somebody said "but," he didn't come through, and most of the time after that. But he didn't help them close out in Milwaukee. Then he had a rough time. But is he going to be able to do it again after the New Orleans series? He didn't. Well, is he going to look okay the next year in the playoffs? He wasn't. So I get that people haven't bought in, but I also look at it and go, DA hasn't proven it and backed it up after that as well. Sorry, Gerald, I cut you off.
No, it's fine. I will say something that I've said before, and it's the reason why 2 years ago we were saying, is DA worth a max contract in a vacuum? No, but you probably need to give him that contract because he's coming off a finals run where he sacrificed, where he did all the little things that you wanted him to defensively, what the Suns are going to need from him now moving forward, and he wasn't rewarded. He didn't get his reward that he felt he earned by doing those things. And DA has always been the type of guy that if you put a task or an assignment in front of him, something specific, he will usually accomplish it, but you have to keep finding ways to keep him motivated. And that's the problem. And I think that's why people get upset when his effort or his performances wane. It's because you're sitting there saying, look, how are we supposed to keep him locked in on a night in, night out basis? And that's my concern, because whether you believe DA can be the right center for this team and win a title or not, the fact of the matter is that right now, his role offensively on an X's and O's standpoint is not going to be that much different than it's been. Mm-hmm. And it might be even less with Bradley Beal here now. So what you are relying on is for the 6 inches between his ears to clear up with a new head coach. You are relying on that human element to come through big. And I'm not going to speculate one way or another whether that's all it takes for him to flip the switch. But if you're a Suns fan and you know that your team is keeping DA, that's what you're kind of banking it all on right now. You are banking it all on Vogel being able to reach him and DA responding better to a new person in charge. And that, the human element, the stuff with Monty was even worse than we thought it was, because publicly they said all the right things about, being on the same page, sometimes family fights, yada, yada. And that could just be lip service. But right now, if you're the Suns and you want to win a title and you can't trade DA, you're really hoping that Vogel gets through to him, because if he doesn't, he regressed on the court in a lot of ways last season, and his role is not suddenly going to change moving forward.
I think it's interesting when we're talking about can Vogel fix DA, as if I'm not saying it's going to happen, but we have seen other players go to get a change of scenery or get a new coach, mm-hmm. and they have flipped their own trajectory. Mm-hmm. It has happened before. So it's not the end of the world, and I don't think it's the end of the world that they weren't able to get rid of him. Listen, I was down for the trade. I thought if they could get some value back, mainly, I kept thinking about the Hawks and Clint Capella. I just feel like Clint Capella would be that guy that would be a perfect fit for this team. And DA is going to have to be basically Clint Capella in this system for sure, without a doubt. But there's only one Clint Capella, and the Hawks didn't want to get rid of him. So where do you go from there? And so where do you go from there? And there's just not a lot of guys around the league that can do what Clint Capella does. And DA athletically can. So you're hoping that Vogel's going to be able to flip the script and get that guy to where he needs to be. Because I know for me, again, this is just from a personal note, I think DeAndre Ayton is a tremendous human being. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes he gets some bad guidance and some bad advice off the court. And I think that, what he was looking for on the court didn't exactly meet the eye. And I think he was disappointed by it to a certain degree. And I think this new change of coach is going to help him significantly.
Well, since I'm the host, I'll take the last thought on this one today. There's so many people that take the Don Draper approach. That's what the money's for. And I don't think that's fair, because in every walk of life, There are people that are very much self-starters, self-motivated, and just get shit done because that's the way that they are and the people they are. And then there's other people that you have to pull along with you and have to give them the step-by-step, this is how you're supposed to do it and what I need out of you. And if you don't lead those people the right way, you don't maximize what you get out of them eventually. And yes, they have to take what you're telling them and do it. But if you don't put that in front of them and give them the blueprint, they don't get it done. And I wonder, did the communication break down so mightily between Monty Williams and DeAndre Ayton and Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton that the blueprint just wasn't there anymore and everything got muddled. You know what I love is BetMGM. Look at that. Look at that transition. I'm no Lindsay, all right?
Speaking of taking a gamble.
Speaking about what the money's for.
He's got it.
BetMGM.
We're back.
I have really, you know what I've enjoyed lately is the Wednesday and Saturday free bets when you log in the app. You can go in there and you get those bonus bets and you can take a chance on things because I love taking the big swings on bets. Those are my favorite to do, and I feel a little safer with doing it when I get those. I also, I love the ease of the app. It's fantastic to use, and one of the best things though is the sports book out there at State Farm Stadium. It's nice. You can use the app, but going out there to the actual book, placing a bet there, hanging out with people, watching the games, having that energy, there is nothing like it. And if you're looking for a place to cool down out this summer, that is a great place to go out there. Plus, we have our cornhole knockout nights, our cornhole league, the first Friday of every month, July and August this summer. You can go out there. There'll be food and beverage specials, giveaway, BetMGM prices, and you'll be able to watch all the local sports that you can handle. So if you haven't signed up for the BetMGM app, make sure to use the bonus code PHNX. There's a few different offers depending on where you live, but for our AZ audience, you will get up to $100 in bonus bets on your first wager with BetMGM. Again, make sure you use that bonus code PHNX. Check out the show notes for details, and now listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
Well, June 21st has come and gone, and you better go to your closest dispensary and get that pink lemonade OG's gummy because it is delicious. It's so good. Emma,
after that, I'm a little scared. Delicious.
I mean, hey, it's better than nasty.
Or dank.
It's no, dank is good.
Is dank good now?
Dank is good.
Dank used to be bad, so now dank's good. All right.
No. Yeah, so speaking of dank, yeah, OG's is dank. You can go check them out at ogsbrands.com. And again, they have all the beautiful flavors. They got mixed bags now. They got the creams. They got the pink lemonade, as I mentioned. Just a whole world of gummies. They have things that will be like the indica. It gets you a little, just kind of mellow you out big time. Make you feel like you're sinking into your couch. They give you a sativa, a little bit of energy. And then they have the happy balance, 1-to-1 THC to CBD ratio. Kind of make you feel a little less painful if your
soul's
if your joints are a little, they're barking to you. So check them out, ogsbrands.com and find your closest dispensary today.
Must be 21
or over to enjoy.
We broke Emma.
Sorry.
I love when we bark.
Yeah,
when
barking.
your joints are barking.
Your feet ever bark at you?
Free agent.
It's a
you guys can
generational
continue
thing.
this after. You guys can bark at each other after. But things get started up on Friday with NBA free agency, the new collective bargaining agreement kicking in. Guys will be able to sign. We're getting some free agency news when it comes to the Suns a little bit early, though. Crispy Haynes said that the Suns will host a free agent workout on Wednesday featuring notables Jabari Parker and Stanley Johnson. He also said point guard Chasen Randall will be a part of it, as well as Chason Randall, and guard Quandary Weatherspoon will also be.
Who?
Yeah, you could.
Quandary.
Yeah, I mean both of them. You're like, who really? Okay, these guys have played all
I
of
know
15
Chason.
minutes of. Chason has not played in the NBA since 2021 with the Orlando Magic, and Weatherspoon hasn't played since 21-22. Like these guys are there to work out with the other two guys.
Excuse me, that is NBA champion Quindary
Oh
Weatherspoon.
my God! Okay,
So just saying.
okay. What about,
Two-way contract with the Warriors last year.
let's ignore
11 whole games for the Warriors last year.
let's ignore the last two
All it
mentioned and
takes is
focus.
one to get the ring, baby.
That's true.
Let's focus on Jabari Parker and Stanley Johnson. How are you guys feeling about those two names? Because I fear these are the kind of names we're going to be looking at all off season.
Jabari Parker, to me, I don't even know. Like, Mans has not played. He hasn't played a season with at least 40 games in a season since 2016-17.
Yeah, he's played 44 games since 2019.
That is ridiculously low, and he has knee issues, obviously. But in terms of a four that could give you a little bit of everything that you would not be relying on. I mean, you're going to take a flyer, work them out. I'm okay with that. I would not place a lot of expectations on that. It's just because you're hoping that things turn around for the guy, and it has been a tough road for him. And then Stanley Johnson, you know me, again, like the Arizona thing is irrelevant to me. I care about the Suns winning games. I don't give a shit about what he did at the U of A. I always thought that he was a bit of a tweener in between positions. I always thought he was in between, a small forward and a power forward, kind of in between that body. He can handle the ball a little bit. He shot decently well from at Detroit and San Antonio last year, but I still need to see a little bit more from him, especially from the perimeter. Strong guy, built like a brick house, but I don't know, man. I don't see it.
Yeah, like you said, there's nothing wrong with working guys out. If you can take a flyer on a former lottery pick or two and see if they have anything to offer, there's no harm in doing that. But it does kind of go to show that we might be scraping the bottom of the barrel here in free agency because they only have veteran minimum deals to offer. They're going to be an above the second tax apron team, which means they're not going to have their mid-level. They're not going to have their biannual exception. And with their cap situation being what it is, nearly being in the luxury tax just between their top four players alone, like you're going to have to hope that someone's willing to take a discount or try and take a flyer on guys like these. So like you guys said, Parker hasn't played since 21-22, played 12 games for the Celtics, played 13 the season before. Like he just hasn't been able to stay healthy. His career trajectory was totally ruined by those injuries early on, which sucks because he was a 20 points per game scorer for the Bucks for a while there and looked like he was going to be a pretty solid guy moving forward. I just don't know how much is left. He's 28 years old now, so he's not like super old, but we haven't seen him for a while in any meaningful basketball games.
He seems like the kind of guy you invite to camp and see if he can surprise you and try to get on the roster as like the 15th guy or something. To me, Stanley Johnson's more of the intriguing. I think he's a cheaper Josh Okogie with a similar set of skills, can go in and maybe Frank Vogel guy to play some defense, come in and do that. He's not gonna magically play 25 minutes a game for you. He's probably a 5-10 minute guy to give you some defense kind of guy. But I'm intrigued with that name. But Gerald, you wrote a great article about 40 potential free agents, and we'll get into what we want from free agency. We'll do a little shopping before the end of the show. But you kind of mentioned it there. But I want us to make this crystal clear to people that are watching and listening. The Suns have no options other than the veteran minimum, correct?
Yeah.
You're not going free agent hunting this season, right?
Yes. So between Booker, KD, Beal, DA, Campaign, Ish Wainwright, Jordan Goodwin, Isaiah Todd, and their rookie Toumani Camara, assuming that they sign him to a very cheap like $1 million contract, They're already at about $175 million in salary between those 9 players. So that means they'd have 6 roster spots to fill. And the second luxury tax apron is at 182.5 mil. So they're already knocking on the door. You give guys, even if it's all veteran minimums from here, you're going to pass that second luxury tax apron, at which point you don't get your MLE, your BAE is already out the door. So they can't do any sign and trades, because if you do a sign and trade, you are automatically hard capped at the first luxury tax apron, which the Suns are already going to blow right past that with the guys they already have on the roster. So there's no way to do that.
No sign and trades either, right?
Yeah, no sign and trades and no restricted free agents.
You said that.
Yeah.
I meant restricted.
Yeah. No,
I meant restricted. No,
Yeah.
no restricted offer sheets. None of that.
Right, because if you offer a restricted free agent the vet minimum, their team is going to shake your hand and thank you for giving them their player at a discounted rate. And they're also going to wonder why the player signed that thing in the first place, because they could probably do better. So
Damn.
I'm sorry, everybody that wanted a Kyrie or a James Harden sign and trade. I'm sorry, the people that wanted a Cam Johnson reunion. Those things are not going to happen because they can do a lot better. And honestly, most restricted free agents that are even respectable are going to be able to do better either by re-signing with their own team or on the open market. So it's literally just limited to a DeAndre Ayton trade if you're trying to meaningfully upgrade the roster, or getting guys to sign on vet minimums.
Does the $5 million trade exemption have any value? Is that,
Yeah.
can you take in a guy without sending anything out in that case? I'm not a real big trade exemption understander here.
Yeah, you can. Trade exemptions are usually used as part of a bigger trade. Like the Hawks have this ginormous trade exception now that they can use to take on more salary, or they can fill up their cap space by re-signing their own guys. So it just kind of depends. But a lot of times trade exceptions are only used as minor pieces to, give you a little bit more wiggle room when you work out a trade.
What about the guys with the bird rights? Like Jock, Torrey.
Right.
What are we talking about with them?
Right. So those guys, and we'll talk about them later in the week as far as who they should keep, who they should let go. But if you own a player's bird rights, one of your own free agents, you can technically sign them to a bigger deal that doesn't count for as much as that full amount against the cap. So don't be surprised if you see the Suns re-signing guys whose bird rights they own, like Torrey Craig, like Jock Landale. There are a couple of others, to deals that are maybe surprisingly big. It's because they're structuring those contracts so that they're tradable later on, so that they can maybe trade for a guy on the mid-level salary around 12 million or maybe around 5 million. So they could, Ishbia, if he's going through that second luxury tax apron door, he's going to kick it down. And this is the way that makes sense to keep your guys happy, to bring back some guys on your roster for more than the vet minimum, and still structure yourself where you have a little bit of trade flexibility if something opens up around the deadline.
So looking straight in the camera and remind you again, there's no way to sign anybody to the mid-level exception or biannual. Mm-hmm. There's no money left other than vet minimums, and you ain't signing and trading anybody. So we're square in the vet minimum if you want to collect any more players for the back end of that roster. If you want to collect some,
which means everybody and their mom's going to talk about Derrick Rose some more.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks all for ruining my transition. If you want to collect
I didn't know we were done with the
topic. Foco is a great place to go.
Foco
you too. All right. Well, you're at Fubo, you too. So, Foco has helped us kind of decorate some of these studios, some of the best bobbleheads and merchandise that you can get in sports. They've got basically officially licensed gear from all the sports and any of your fandom. You're going to be able to get it. Some of their baseball bobbleheads. I used to be a big baseball bobblehead collector. They have some of the coolest looks in baseball bobbleheads I've seen in years. Mm. And what they're really good with is like with Bradley Beal coming to the Suns, I guarantee within a week, they're going to have a Bradley Beal Suns bobblehead that you can hop on. You can be one of the first people to own a piece of this new era of the Suns. And if you're looking to decorate your home, your man cave, your garage, whatever it is, check out Foco. They always have your back for Arizona sports. And they have ours too. Get the best gear around by visiting Foco.com PHNX.com and using that code PHNX for all the non-presale items that you use that code on, you're going to save 10% off. Again, that's promo code PHNX. And then Four Peaks, our friends over at Four Peaks, we're going to be out there on Wednesday. It's the last Wednesday of the month. So we go hang out at the Four Peaks A Street Pub, and you can join us there. We were there the other day. I had a T-shot beer. I had the barbecue chicken pizza. Those are two of my favorites. I can't get enough of that T-shot beer. So
The T-shot beer is fantastic, like the NBA.
Gerald, do you have a favorite Four Peaks beer that you'll probably be
Does he?
partaking in on Wednesday?
Yeah, the Sun Brew is still my favorite, especially with that Suns vintage can that they have, like the purple one. It's pretty cool.
Did you not see his Instagram this weekend?
No, I don't spend my time looking at my coworkers' Instagrams. I got shit to do. So
You could just scroll through Instagram and happen to look at it.
I got shit to do, people to see.
I feel slighted.
Yeah, I mean,
But yeah, that one's my favorite. The Wow Weed is also really good. I love that one. And you can't go wrong with the Kilt Lifter either if you like stronger beers.
I also love that they take care of the community. They're big about the community, and they have teacher appreciation that they do. They're collecting things and for teachers for their classrooms. They're going to be handing that out soon. And you can nominate a teacher at fourpeaksforteachers.org, and you can donate there.
Help the kids.
Well. Yeah, help the kids, help the teachers that don't get paid enough to actually be able to buy
deal with
crap
those
for their
crazy
classrooms.
ass parents.
Yeah, so make sure to check out at Four Peaks Brew or Four Peaks
Wild-ass
Pub
parents out there.
on social to keep up with the latest at Arizona's hometown brewery. Must be 21 or older to drink Four Peaks, and please drink responsibly.
So I got a story real quick.
Okay.
So this is a little side. So Emma and I are actually going to head down to Tucson to the Arizona School for the Deaf and the Blind tomorrow. We're going to help out with their little camp, right? And it reminded me of a different scenario since I was talking about crazy ass parents. I was in a gym, and it was one of those gyms where there was two gyms side by side with a wall splitting it in between, like one of those cloth little or not the plastic drop downs. Yeah. And I heard this guy just screaming at the refs, like, this is bullshit, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, man, that must be a pretty intense game going on over there. I walk to the other side. It's 6-year-olds. 6-year-olds. I thought Devin Booker was playing against freaking Kevin Durant in a pickup game or something. Like this dude was losing his mind. I was like, bro, do you need a hug? Or do you need to go to jail? Like, what is going on right now?
Both.
Jesus.
Hey,
I have met so many crazy parents. Also, craziest parents. I used to be a referee. Craziest parents. I thought they were in Tucson because Tucson has some parents that are off the chain.
Yeah.
No, by a mile, it's Colorado.
Really?
By a mile.
who would have guessed?
I swear the only violation they know how to scream out is 3 seconds. 3 seconds! That's all they did. 3 seconds.
They
all
must have
game
known
long.
you were from Arizona and a Suns fan. So.
I doubt that.
It's not just parents though. I played an adult rec league, and I know this will shock all of you. I'm ultra competitive, and I gave it to the ref pretty good a few times in an adult rec league. So not just parents that can't control it. I stuck it to that ref. Can we take a look at some of the super chats, Emma, that we've gotten today? Ben Price says, girth showing off calves like teardrops of Zeus. I feel sorry. Like Saul wore pants today, and I think they're both impressive calves. Saul's just hiding his today. And then Libertarian Sasquatch, my favorite name in the chat, says, so you're saying there's a chance. I assume that's based on the free agency stuff.
Yes.
No. But speaking of free agents, it's time to do a little free agency shopping as we look at vet minimums. That's you like my shopping bag and cart Photoshop I did here? It is time to take a look at who we want out of this poo-poo platter of remaining names that Gerald went through. There are 40 of them at gophnx.com. You can wade through them and decide who you want. But
David Letterman, I have a top 10.
Oh, you have a top 10? Well, why don't we start off with Mr. Bookman, the king of late night. What's your top 10?
All right. So this one's probably not going to happen. I'm almost certain of it because San Antonio does have his bird rights. But Keita Bates-Diop from Ohio State, Terrific defender, gives you a little bit of everything. Solid player. Suns could definitely use a guy like that. He's just a solid player, and that's what the Suns need more than anything right now. You're going to take a few risks and a few gambles this offseason. I understand that, but you at least need your core 7 or 8 to be pretty solid. And then number 2 for me is Javon Carter. I would love to see Javon Carter come back. I'm disappointed highly that we traded him for that bum that went to Washington. Sorry. I told myself I wasn't going to do that anymore. I'm sorry.
He's gone now.
I didn't say his name.
Let him
I didn't
go.
say it could be any bum that went to Washington.
Let him leave.
But we know which one it was. Javon
There's a lot
Carter.
of bums that went to
This
Washington,
is
to
true.
be fair.
Javon Carter, the junkyard dog needs to come back because this is his home. Number 3 for me is Kevin Love. Again, stability. He's obviously he's weathered.
That is a nice way.
He's a little
You know
weathered.
it's bad when he starts laughing right after he says
When you describe him like an HGTV show describes the house they're at rebuilding.
But he's consistent. He's a great all around player.
Knows James Jones well.
Yeah. And I mean, on the perimeter, you're gonna suffer a little bit. But I just think again, you need a guy in that locker room that's just gonna be stable, especially with a guy like DA still coming back. So 4 is gonna cause some heartache for a lot of people.
Here we go.
Come back, Jay Crowder.
There we go.
Come on, Jay Crowder.
There we go.
You might not like the guy and you might not like the way he left, but listen, the Gila River swimming pool has not been the same since he left, and we need him to come back for those pool parties, baby. Let's go. Plus, solid defender, does the intangibles. He's a solid player.
Does he suck it up and take a veteran minimum? Is that all he's going to get offered? Because he put up a big stink about not getting the contract extension, was making $10 million, and to come back with his tail between his legs to sign a veteran minimum contract here, I feel like pride doesn't let that happen.
Well, he was pretty trash in Milwaukee, and I think that set the tone. So, and then I'll go with my 5. I'll give you my bottom 5 after everybody else goes. But my last one, number 5 for me, is Danny Green.
Okay.
And there's your risk,
Mhm.
but he's got championship pedigree. Did it with the Spurs. Did it with the Lakers. A solid all around player. He's got the knee injury, yes, but I think he would fit in with this core, especially coming off the bench. When you have 1 or 2 of those guys sitting out, or in those games where one of those guys is not playing. He's a solid outside shooter, can defend to a decent degree. Not the greatest defender in the world, but he's decent. And again, the championship pedigree means a lot right now.
I really like Bates Diop. He was one of kind of my last inclusions on the list, and he's pretty good, honestly. Like he was on a bad team, so some of these numbers have to be taken in that context, but he averaged nearly 10 points in about 22 minutes per game, shot 51% from the floor, 39% from 3. He's 6'8" wing, still only 27 years old. The problem is the Spurs have his bird rights and they have a ton of cap room, like more than they'll probably know what to do with it. So there's a very good chance that they maybe slightly overpay him to keep him in San Antonio. But if he is interested in playing for a winning situation and doesn't want to be part of a rebuild with Wemby, maybe there's a path to, Phoenix is going to be an attractive pitch. Like they just are in terms of the basketball stuff. It's whether these guys are going to be willing to take, a couple mil to be a part of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the problem. They look down and they go, yeah, that ring would be nice, but that $1.4 million ain't exactly what I'm hoping for.
The ring's going to be worth more than my contract.
It very well might.
Yeah.
Who else is on your particular list? I know you went through 40 guys. I don't want all 40, but who are your guys?
Well, I mean, I can talk about a couple of the ones that Saul mentioned as well, because I do like a lot of the ones he listed. Javon Carter was another one. I feel like he had his best season in Milwaukee. He still only averaged like 8 points a game, but he was efficient. He continued to bring what he brings on the defensive end. And I do feel like he said a lot of glowing things about the opportunity Milwaukee has given him. So maybe that bridge has been burned, but then again, maybe it was a Monty thing that he felt he was being held back here. So
It was.
there's a possibility. I don't know. The Bucks have a lot of free agents this summer, so I don't know who they're going to prioritize. If they do prioritize Carter, he'll probably stay there, I would imagine. But if he's available, that wasn't the last time campaign looked good, but they looked good together, and you need a little bit of a different look at those backup point guard spots. So I would like him as well. And then I kind of like Drew Eubanks a little bit. He's a guy that flies under the radar a lot because he plays for the Blazers. He's a 4/5 who can, he can shoot it a little bit. He shot 39% from deep. He doesn't take a ton of them, but he's very efficient. He's 26 years old. I think he might have played himself out of the vet minimum tier, but again, you got to make these calls on some of these guys and see what you can get. So those are a couple of the ones that stand out to me.
For me, I bucketed it in 3 areas I think they need. 3-point shooting, defense, and backup point guard. Now, Frank Kaminsky, obviously on my list without any of these.
Yes.
He must come back. It is priority number 1 for me. But if I'm looking elsewhere, 3-point shooting, Utah Watanabe is a guy that is intriguing because he's young, shot 44% in limited minutes from 3 with the Nets. Maybe KD can pull some strings, convince him, hey, come here for a year. We'll get you paid with that. I like that. Joe Ingles, another name. I know he's a little long in the tooth, but he's a fellow Aussie, so maybe Jock can pull some strings once they sign him. But he shot 40.9% from 3 on 4 attempts last year, but he has a career track record of being able to hit from deep. I like what he might be able to offer. Defensively, Justice Winslow is a name that really intrigues me. A guy that can play good defense, can rebound. Last year in 29 games with Portland, averaged 6.8 points, 5 rebounds, 3.4 assists. He's a guy that is the answer. Is he going to be a world beater? Probably not, but he's a guy that can come in, play multiple positions, guard multiple positions. Could be a guy that works with Vogel. Stanley Johnson, we mentioned. I talked about that. Dylan Brooks.
Oh my!
If you're
going to take swings, if you're going to take chances, and you're going to have to do it at the vet minimum, bring him in.
He ain't coming on the vet minimum.
I don't know. He might not get much else.
Might not, but there was a report from Mark Stein that said he's looking for a contract in the annual salary range of $12 million a year.
Yeah, so am I.
He's not getting that. I like that he conveniently listed himself at the mid-level, just to let teams know, hey, I'll take the mid-level. But I don't know if he's getting that. And yes, you want to take swings, but you also don't want to swing and hit yourself in the face.
But the thing is, at a vet minimum, if the guy's a distraction, just cut him.
Yeah,
it's not gonna hurt you.
I get that, but you're also investing like time and resources when you could have spent them elsewhere on a guy who didn't shoot like 40% and 33% from 3 and took a ton of shots despite that, and then talked a ton of shit the whole season and didn't back any of it. The Suns need attitude. They need toughness for sure. I just don't know if Dylan Brooks is that guy.
They need defense. Frank Vogel's a defensive coach, and you've got a bunch of offensive guys.
I'm down with Dylan Brooks. I am. I've always been down with Dylan. I'm down with ODB. Let's go.
Down with ODB.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, you know me.
No, I'm down for that. Justice Winslow gets a little hurt too much for my liking. He's been wildly inconsistent in terms of being on the court. That's the reason why.
Have you looked at our roster?
Yeah, I know. Might fit in. Yeah, we don't need to add more guys to it.
Oh, that's good.
It shouldn't be like a guessing game as to who's going to play every single night. Can I go through my last 5?
Yeah.
Number 6 is my favorite player of all time. Outside of Michael Jordan. It is the guy that he was the original guy to get completely dicked over by Monty Williams. Aaron Holiday, come back home, baby.
Aaron, come back. You can blame it all on Monty. We were wrong, and we just can't live without you.
Yeah, let's go, Aaron Holiday. Come back to me. And then we could team him up with Utah Watanabe.
Okay.
I was going to say Watanabe, but yeah.
Watanabe.
And then 8, I have Reggie Jackson. Okay. He didn't get a lot of run for the Denver Nuggets. Obviously we saw what he could do with the Clippers. He shot terribly last year, did not play very well. Maybe a bounce back is in the cards for him. You're seeing a theme here though. Redemption, second chance. Like this is what this is the life we live right now. And then number 9, Svi Mykhailiuk. I do like him. Again, small sample size, as Gerald mentioned in his article. See, I read your articles.
You read my article.
In 19 games last season with the Hornets, but he shot very, very well. And maybe that'll be the flyer that we need. And then
by the way you pronounce that name is how you sounded when I took that edible at the arena at Summer League.
And then finally, I have Stanley Johnson at number 10.
Okay.
Just because I think, hey, he's going to be cheap. He's a physical player, and they need some defensive presence, and at least he can do that.
I have two more names in the point guard. Dennis Schroder, if you can convince him, and Frank Vogel, having coached him, won a championship with him. If you can convince him that Phoenix is where he needs to be, that would be a huge get. The other guy, and I have it on pretty good authority that he's interested in returning to Phoenix, is Smith. Not a guy that's going to be a world beater, but he's solid as your third guy, a good break glass in case of emergency, and a great locker room guy. If I'm playing in this sandbox and I'm getting towards the back end of things and I still need a guard, that's a name I'd at least
no Iffy Lundberg.
Yeah. Iffy Lundberg, I don't think he wants to come.
Who?
Yeah. Well, unless Monty was his problem too. Who knows?
It's possible, but yeah, I really like Dennis Schroder, and I think it's appropriate that we probably saved him for last because I feel like he might make more than that. The Lakers obviously have some of their exceptions. They'll probably be chasing bigger fish, so maybe he slips through the cracks and the Vogel connection helps them land him. There are a bunch of kind of former backup third string point guards that I included in there, but I am kind of intrigued by George Hill. I know that he hasn't done much lately, but he is a Vogel guy for sure. He spent the first 6 years. Yeah, he's old. A lot of these guys are old, though.
Welcome to what we're shopping in, all right? Welcome to Bismack, Boban, and beyond, my friend.
Can we trade a 38-year-old point guard to get another 37-year-old point guard?
We took a whole year off his price, 37. I was kind of surprised how many times I wrote out, he's 37 years old in this article, but it was more than I was expecting. But I've always kind of been fascinated by George Hill, and I do wonder if maybe in a more comfortable environment rather than the teams he's been playing for recently would help. I would love JaMychal Green or Jalen Noel, but I feel like they're going to be worth more than the vet minimum. And Svi's a shooter. I don't know. The Hornets have a decent amount of cap space, so maybe those 19 games where he shot the ball really well are going to be enough to get him re-signed there. But if he's available and you need some shooting, why not give him a look?
Don't look at Bruce Brown. Don't look at Rui Hachimura.
Don't look at
Austin Reeves. That shit ain't going to happen.
Nope. Not for the
My list
minimum.
was all based in reality, folks.
Yeah. This feels like the most depressing way to start a Monday.
Set your expectations very low.
When you saw the Bismack, Boban, and Beyond commercial, I wasn't lying at what you're shopping with. If you're not trading DeAndre Ayton, these are the type of names you're going to have to fill out the roster with, and you're going to hope that you find a diamond in the rough or two that wind up being contributors in this. But look, Jordan Goodwin is a guy you got to remember is on this roster now, will be a contributor. You've got to think about those kind of things too. So.
I'm only saying this because Han brought it up. I don't think there's a chance in hell this would happen.
Oh yeah.
Miles Bridges. I don't think there's a chance in hell that would happen. But if it were ever going to happen, because somebody wants to give him a second chance, it would be the Michigan State connection and Matt Ishbia. I do want to say that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen. I don't even think they're going to even kick the tires on him because he's largely considered to be, untouchable. But I just...
we should address it at least. And to go to your point, Espo, if you're underwhelmed by the list of names that we're going through right now, this is kind of why we've been talking about the possibility of a DA trade. It's not because any of us want him gone or want him to fail or anything like that. It's because just logistically looking at his contract, looking at the production you're getting from him, and looking at the fact that you're going to need a coaching change to suddenly flip that switch for him, the logistical possibilities are a lot less when you only have veteran minimum deals to work with. So here's hoping that Vogel can get through to him. I'm not going to say it's impossible by any means. I will say it's a big ask, but they need him to be really good if this is how they're going to round out the rest of their roster.
Folks, be better than that in the chat. We don't need those kind of jokes, please. But we do have a super chat.
Yeah, Ben says,
No.
Nope, never mind.
Utah Watanabe, Boban Biombo. Yeah, okay. Ben, come on, man.
Libertarian Sasquatch. I'm comfortable. My comfortable environment is a nursing home. Well, You may get that in the back half of the Suns roster.
Poor George Hill.
At
He
the-
is getting
at this
older now.
Go read Gerald's article. Maybe you'll find a few names in the 40 that make you feel a little bit better. And if while you're there, become a diehard. You're going to get access to our Discord, which was popping all weekend. I was talking Suns with that crew, all sorts of rumors and links that they were dumping in there. We were arguing about a million different things. It was a lot of fun in there. You're going to get access to some of our special events, some of Gerald's content that is for diehard eyes only. You'll get access to that as well. So go become a diehard today. That is the end of the show. So I'm Espo. You can follow me at Espo. You can follow the show at PHNX_Suns. You can follow Saul at Saul_Bookman. You can follow Gerald Bourget at Gerald Bourget. If you follow Bourget Gerald, you're going to be highly disappointed. Not much comes out of there. So until tomorrow, where you can join us right back here at 3 p.m. Remember, sometimes you got to sign guys just because you got to fill out a roster. Ahoy, hoy.
Never gonna let go. PHNX though, Lindsey, Gerald, Espo. Saw past the ball, we here to turn up the tempo. Got to understand me, I'll always wreck the family. Rally in the valley like Dan G, no plan B, always on the job.